Yeah.
Okay, take care.
I don't know if that was from Rambam or Tanya.
That was a Tanya.
Tanya. Okay.
Okay.
Yesterday or today's Tanya?
Was it?
Yesterday's Tanya.
But he also mentioned it a day again.
Today, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. We're back knee deep in great stuff. Gemorrah Shabbos, Daled Reshuyos LaShabbos. Well, we had a little break. We had last week we had the huge Shvas Verbrengen. The week before we went into Ton Rabban and Daled Reshuyos LaShabbos. And Wednesday we did the that whole thing with the Rambam Shitta about what's the din of a midbar. The few shot in a midbar. It's unbelievable. Rishimus. You played the video Wednesday? Yeah? 2 weeks ago Wednesday that I sent the shear that I gave. Oh, it was Thursday?
Oh.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah, he played it.
Oh, good, very good. Okay. So we're holding Daf Vavam at base, the two little dots. Amar Mar. We said in the Braisa, im Hoitze Vichtens B'Shabbos Chayv Chatas, B'Meizid Onish Koris V'Niskel. I'm sorry, Amar Mar im Hoitze Vichtens B'Shoigig Chayv Chatas. If it was B'Shoigig, it's a Chatas. B'Meizid, the Onish Koris V'Niskel. The punishment is death. It's just that if there is a warning and there's two witnesses, he gets skila. But the Bezdin, they can't give a punishment if there is no witness and no warning. But the Eibishter knows. So there's Kodesh.
Which Amar on the top or on the bottom? One of the top was.
Oh, it's the middle of the page. Omar Man.
We have another one.
Okay, so in the middle of the page, starting again. How are Moshe? Omar Man. Hoitzevi Hichnes. If a person on Shabbos does Heitzach Nasa, takes from Shusharam Shushayochid the other way around. B'shoigig chayav chatas. B'meizid on the shkaris v'niskel. He gets killed either through karas or v'niskel. It depends if Bezdin finds out about it through Edom and Asarah. They can give him skill. Otherwise, God will take care of it through karas. The Gemara b'shoigig chayav chatas pshita. I mean, wait, you have to tell me. It's we know anything. When you have a karas, so when you have shoigig instead of karas, it's if you think about it, it's the biggest kindness for a person is to get those 39 whips, because I'm sorry, I'm saying that korban, other Avedas, a shaykh to get that korban, if he does a b'shoigig, is wiping away a very serious sin. B'shoigig chayav chatas. We know that any time a person has a sin which is koros, so and they did it accidentally, so what they do is they bring a korban chatos. The Gemara answers no. B'meizid onosh koros v'niskel l'tzrechalei. We wanted to tell you this the skila. Oh, nami pshita. Rashi says that a child knows it. What was the story of the Mekoishish? So, first of all, there's a few opinions later in the Gemara what Mekoishish was. There was a story when they were in the desert, there was a guy that was putting together wood, and the Eibishter said that they should stone him. But one opinion is that he was taking from Shusharam to Sheyachid. But either way, Mechalala Mois Yumas, and they didn't know what the punishment is. And the Eibishter said the punishment is skila. So a child knows it's 2 + 2. It's simple. And Torah says that a desecration of Shabbos is Mois Yumas. And there was a guy that desecrated Shabbos and he got skila. So what does the Brais have to tell it to us? Isn't it something super, super simple? Tanoika Shabbos Rabban that learned the Chumash know this, that the punishment for desecrating Shabbos is skila.
Was the father of Shalof?
Right, exactly. Oh, it's a chelai. And I'm pshita kamash malon kederab. Why? What's the chiddush? Omar Rav Matzosi Megillah story in Beit Rabbi Chia. I found a hidden Megillah in the yeshiva Reb Chia. Because of it said Beisi ben Yehuda Omer Avos Malachas Arbaim Chosarachas Ben Chayev Elo Achas. That when you have 39 malachas, and you chayev only one. What does it mean chayev one? Veini, but now the Mishnah says Avos Malachas Arbaim Chosarachas. Vavinu be'mayon alamali, and the Bnei Yeshiva asks, what does the Mishnah have to tell you that it's 39? If I count, I know how to count. 1, 2, 3. What are the Mishnah be'mayon alamali? V'amar Rabbi said to tell me Shemos and Kulam be'elam machas chayev or kolachas v'achas, that if he knew it was Shabbos, but he forgot about the malachas, and he didn't know which malachas you're allowed to or not allowed to do, and he did a bunch of things, he's chayev 39 times. Like Rashi, it says Rashi, kol chayev achas, bolay dis chum chatosh, adam chayev b'sur Shabbos, be'elam achas. He knew it was Shabbos, he didn't know which malachas. V'shminen, mem chas achas, 39, v'suloi, shafil also till the same in one, eni meive al atul, the heichad asim aviyah, so the maximum he'll get is 39 chiyuvei chatas, for example. 39, not more. So that's what the Isi ben Yehuda said. So the Gemorrah. And so that's what the Braisa says. I mean, that's what the Mishnah said.
If somebody did 39 malachas of Shabbos in one elam, you have to be 39.
39 malachas. And even though he did more malachas, but since they're all going into the category of 39 malachas, if he did Av and 3 tuldas, he still gets only 39 chiyuvei chatas. Okay? So that's what the Rabbi said. That's what I learned from the Mishnah. So we know that you're chayiv 39 times. The Isi ben Yehuda had a Kabbalah, that he had a Kabbalah from his Rebbe, that in one of the 39 malachas there's no punishment of skila. Chatas is for all 39. So if he did, he knew Shabbos, but he didn't know how you're supposed to keep Shabbos. A very funny thing how you can have so. But whatever. Again, he knows it's Shabbos, but he thinks you're allowed to do choder, zereya, koitzer, everything. Oifa, he thinks you're allowed to accidentally. He thinks, and he does 39 malachas plus the tulus is chayv 39. But Lagabe, the chiyuv of skila, Isi ben Yehuda said, you should know there's one malacha that I heard from my rabbis, there's no skila. I don't remember which one it is. So the Braisa wanted to tell you that you should know that Eitzah from Rashus HaYochid V'Shirabim was not one of them. Then Isi ben Yehuda had a question. This Isi ben Yehuda was one of the Braisa, one of the Chachma Reb Chia, the Braisas. So the other Braisa wanted to say, you should know, my friend Isi ben Yehuda, Tamol Gehet from his Rebbe, that one of the 39 malachas, you know, according to Isi ben Yehuda, what happens? You can never put a person to death for desecrating Shabbos, because it's Asro Sofik, because you don't know. If he did one malacha, so Glatazai, the guy says, if it's not Eitzah, so maybe this one there's no skila. And even if he did 3 malachas or 4 malachas, Asro Sofik, they have to be masanim. So according to Isi ben Yehuda, the Meforshim, there's a Prima Godim in the Psiche, it brings it the Yelis HaShacher, Rav Steinman, that says, why is Isi ben Yehuda, the Braisa was written a long time after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So how is it relevant? At that time they already lost smicha. The emphasis, the question of the Prima Godim is not the strongest question in the world. Yesh Emin that they had smicha up down to 600-700 years ago, maybe 800 years ago. There's
that's the Rambam time already.
Before, maybe they're saying those that say, maybe 900 that the Rebbe of the Rambam had gehalten as gat smicha, whatever.
I have a question. If he made the whole.
One second. I just mamish want to finish the thought. So the thing is that Isi ben Yehuda, according to Prima Godim, but probably there was most what they didn't have smicha then. So why is he saying about that you can't give the guy skila? But obviously, if they have no smicha, they can never give any punishments. If Isi ben Yehuda lived in a time when there was no more smicha, so they can't give punishments anyway. So lamay nafkamina. So
What did he do with the carbon?
There was a punishment,
Oh.
not that.
right.
There was.
So he says no, Lagabi. The difference is the Pri Megadim says Lagabi Komle b'derabba minay. That he has to pay money. Well, you say a person you can't kill him and charge him money at the same time. but that only you can kill him. But Malchus, you say any mishalim aloika akacher. But Chiyuv misses more. Even if the poil is not getting the kill, it doesn't. You can't have a chiyuv mitzvah tashlumim kachet. Kom le b'derabba minay. So if he did a malacha and he was the same time. And the same time did a chiyuv, and you say kom le b'derabba minay. So it will be a shayla l'gab kom le b'derabba minay. Okay.
All right, my
sorry.
question. We just learned if you made the 39 melachot, hayav kol echad ve'echad. If you made the same one twice or three times,
The same thing. If he did the av 3 times, behelam echad. That means he never learned in between. He baked, and he baked the second time, and he baked the third time. He smoked 1 cigarette, he smoked the second cigarette, and he smoked the third cigarette. So these are 3 times the same av malacha. He knew Shabbos, but he forgot that you're not allowed to smoke in Shabbos, and no one told him in between the first and second and the second and the third cigarette a thing. So he brings only 1 chattas for smoking 3 cigarettes. If in between someone told him, oh, by the way, not allowed to smoke cigarettes, and then he forgot and he smoked another cigarette.
No, he said one more.
So then
Every single puff, not every single cigarette.
okay, for every puff, exactly. Okay.
Thank you.
I want to focus in on a beautiful Rashi. And that's why I wrote today about the Shir, about Megillah Sotrim. So something cute that came to my mind when I was reading this Rashi. Megillah Sotrim, Rashi says he found that Isi ben Yehuda wrote a secret Megillah. You hear a secret Megillah? What was the secret things? Like the other day I told the story that, no, exactly, the Shimas, the Rebbe left in his desk. What did the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe said he had a conversation with the Maggid before he passed away. What was in that conversation? What was the secret codes? What was the secret Megillah Sotrim that Isi ben Yehuda left hiding somewhere in the house of, or in the Beis Medrash of Reb Chia? So he's Tirua, why? Because you're not allowed to write. They used to have like this. They took notes because by then it was very important to take notes. They didn't have a bookstore here like Eichler's. At that time, there was 2 psukim, the Gemorrah Dashins and Tmura Daf Yudaldim base. And the Gemorrah Dashin said, by the way, this is very to do with this week's Pasha, yesterday. We got the Torah. And one pasuk says, Al Pi Advarim Ha'elam, that you have to say it Bapeh. And one pasuk, Seivlach. And the Gemara says, Dvarim Shebiksav, Iyat Rashi Amum Bapeh, Dvarim Shebapeh, Iyat Rashi Lekois from Biksav. That there's a written Torah, must be written. The oral Torah must be oral. And that's the way it went for many, many, many generations. The Rambam writes,
What's the second part?
one pasuk is Ksoivloch, and one Al Pi Advarim Ha'elam. So one is Al Pi. Oh, very good, very good. Parrots are saying that we should look right now at the Akdama the Rambam. Parrots learns it every year when he's doing the 3 prokim. It's not taka. It's a very geshmaka. You say it's the okay, very good. So and taka, anyone that learns the Rambam 3 prokim learns the Akdama every year. Maybe sometime the second day already, so that you get stuck. But the first day. So if you're learning according to Takana Rambam, so by now you already learned 35 Takdomas Rambam. 40. Oh, sure. From Tafshin Memhei, 1985. You're learning it every year. Yeah. But Akdama, how can you? Akdama, you do. Okay. So I want to talk about Akdama. And I think I have here a nice chidush. The Rambam writes the Rambam has a very clear mahalach about this whole thing about Torah Shabbat and Torah Shabbat. I mean, this is Hagdomet, his sefer that Rambam wrote. I'm writing Mishnah Torah. The Adam Koide, the Torah Shabbat, and then he's Torah ta sefer Azeh, ve'ein tzorich l'sefer acher b'intayim. So the Rambam writes a very important Hagdomet to his sefer. The Rambam writes about this issur to write things that are dvorim shabapeh. So the Rambam writes basically that every Rosh Yeshiva used to write for themselves. You should know that let me go a little before that. I'm sorry. There was never a book that was taught in public. In every generation, in every generation, there was the Navi that was the head of generation, or the Av Bezdin. Different generations. There were many generations that the Rosh Bnei Yisrael was a Navi, like Shmuel HaNavi and many Nevi'im, and then there was Rosh Av Bezdin. David HaMelech also Melech and also Av Bezdin, but I mean, for many generations, there was the Nevi'im.
Abedin is the head of the Sanhedrin.
Yeah. So they used to write to themselves. So it's interesting. There's a nice word over here, just to clarify, Marav Weinberg and Moedes and Rambam, Shiva Ner Yisrael, that just to make it clear, he says that the Messiah, when you hear something, you must hear it Baal Peh. When you say something, you can't say a shir from notes. But you're allowed to have notebooks in your house. The Rosh Yeshiva was allowed to have notebooks in his house, and the Talmud was allowed to have notebooks in his house. But when you transmit Torah, when you tell it over, or when you listen, no, there's no notes.
That's what Pirkei Avot said. Moshe Rabbeinu Mesara LeYeshua.
Exactly.
Yeshua LaSkenim.
Right. Right. And so Rebbe HaKodesh said, the Gemorrah says in Tmura, Eis lasas l'Hashem eperu Torah secha. The Gemorrah says, Mutav shete'oker Torah misheteshtakach Torah miyisrael. The Bezin said, Rebbe HaKodesh said, if we're going to continue this way, there's going to be no more Torah for the Jewish people. The only way we're going to have Torah for the Jewish people is if we start writing it down. Otherwise, it's going to get lost. Okay, how he learned it, and what. Obviously, that's what the Eibishter wanted. The Eibishter wanted that. Right, because that's what he said. The Jews are going to spread around, and then Zayim Abakoy, it's not going to be one Torah. So we need to write a book that everyone's going to have. He says,
Wow, he did a big job.
He did a very big job. Rabbi was the first Rabbi HaKodesh. So a lot of the Meforshim that today's Dvarim Shabbat, the Baal Peh is very easy to find. All the Meforshim on every sugi, you could just look and find everything is available. Most of the Meforshim, I find, hold that this Rashi holds just like the Rambam. Just adds a thing that because Taka, that they Lepoil Mamish, they used to hide the Megillah, the notes they used to write, they used to hide. Come to the Mordechai Banet. Mordechai Banet was a Gaon Otzum. He lived in Taz Mittel Rebbe, by the way, and he met the Mittel Rebbe. They had a very good rapport. Mordechai Banet, the Rav in Nikolsburg, writes, no, the Lanius Dait is a Machloikis Rashi and Rambam. He says the Rambam, the way the Rambam makes it sound is as long as you're not teaching from a notebook, it's good. So you could hear it, you could say it, and then at home you could have notes. But from the Rashi, it sounds more. That sounds that she's to rub neshel nitan lekos. Kshemim divi yochid chadoshim.
Which Rashi?
This is in the fat loins.
Yeah.
4 lines from the 3 lines from the top. Megillah Setarim.
Yeah.
She's to rub neshel nitan lekos. They hid it because you're not allowed to write it. Ukshemim divi yochid chadoshim. It's like they heard episode divrei yochid, and it's a davar chodesh. Sheina nishnu beis hamedish. B'koisu noisu shelo yishtakchu. Mastivin sa Megillah. It sounds like it's mamish something that's very important, because then sometimes you need to know divrei yochid, because it's yochid v'rabban, but then another opinion is going to come. For whatever reason, it's a valuable piece of information, and you're scared you're going to lose it. So in that special case that it's a valuable piece of information, you might lose it. You're allowed to write it, but tonight that you hide it. It sounds like a yotzim akol shebe yotzim akol, not like the Rambam says it.
Then for sure, people mishtakiach.
Right? For sure, then that's even more right Rebbe Kodesh. But still, till Rebbe Kodesh came, he says the machloikis between Rashi and the Rambam. The Rambam said you're allowed to have notebooks, no problem. You're allowed to have notebooks, but you can't teach from notebooks, and you're not allowed to sell notebooks. It can't be Barava. Huh?
It's like a brisk stencils. You can't pass them.
What does that? Yeah, exactly. Like brisket stencils, exactly.
What does it mean?
That you can't. No, but that's worse because you can't be so reliable.
Right, yeah.
But then it's like the Geraz on the Rambam. You can't buy it in Eichler's. If you go to Yerushalayim, you ask one of the yeshiva to go to Rabbi Avram Yeshua to get you a sefer. It's printed, but you can't buy it in a bookstore.
Only a family saying this.
Yeah. So
It's not alive.
I don't know because they said that the Reb Chaim he went through his thing 100 times, but they said the 100th time was not as good as the second or third time because he thought he's getting better and better. But anyway, yeah, it's like that. So I know, but sometimes when you write something or you say something and it comes out nice, and then if you rethink it 100 times, you could say take out this word and this word and this word and that word and this word, and already it's
You
okay.
ever saw notes from the Rebbe?
Exactly.
Excuse me,
Okay.
The first word.
Megillah started.
No, what's my question? It's the Ruah, the first word Rashi, and the third to last one, Mastir, is the same shirish, right?
Yeah,
What does it mean again?
hidden.
Hidden, that's what I thought. Thank you.
So the Gemorrah Shabbos says that the Machloikis Rashi and the Rambam, that according to the Rambam, you're allowed to have notebooks as much as you want. It's just that you can't teach from the notebooks. And according to the Rashi, in a special case, you could write it and right away hide it. Okay. My nafkamina is machloikis. So I think there's a machloikis, for example, that's very negeya. It's negeya for. There's the flip side from Dvarim Shel Bapeh, Dvarim Shel Biksav. The Gemara brings it as one hemshach. And there's also there we find the machloikis. Dvarim Shel Biksav, Yata Shel Shel Bapeh. For example, there's a machloikis Rishonim and Fasum is allowed to be Mavaseder. Say a person who's Rahman al-Islam can't see, so he could
Right.
he could braille, right? Person that can't see, Rahman al-Islam. Unbelievable thing. I was just in Israel, and the kids wanted to go in Cholon. There's a museum called the Blind Museum. It's terrifying. It's
Pitch black.
you don't know what black is. You think you know what black is. It's terrifying, shiva terrifying. And they have it's an amazing thing because
The tour guides all blind.
yeah, and the kids afterwards. There was a guy that the punkt was a small group. They don't have it all over the world. This is the Israeli invention, and it forces people to understand other people. Like it's very interesting. The tour guide. The funny thing is, you know what his name was? He seemed pretty religious. I mean, shtickle religious actually. His name was Meir.
Light.
Yeah, exactly. His name was Meir. Anyway, he said that he feels he has an advantage in life. He never is judgmental. He doesn't know he doesn't know what color is. He was born and he was already a Saginor. He said when he was a kid, he asked his mother, what's the color of his ears? What's the color of his hair? Whatever. He says, I don't know what people look like, so I can't judge. I'm not judgmental, he says. That's an unbelievable thing. So a summa Could he be mavaseder? So machloikis if a summa could be mavaseder. Why? Because it's vorim shebiksav. Yatara shalom rabal peh. So let me read what the Alter Rebbe says about it. So there's a machloikis about it. Why? Because there's a machloikis rishonim. What does it mean? Dvarim shebiksav yatara shalom peh. The Maram Rottenberg said very simple. Dvarim shebiksav yatara shalom rabal peh. Hani midli lehoitzi achedim. That's it. Biyachid is different. If you're reading it in the Beis HaKnesses, like Kriyas HaTorah, you're not allowed to say Kriyas HaTorah ba'peh. You must say it metoich haksav. But if you want to yourself, and that that makes most sense. Because Tosfos asks, how can we say sometimes things ba'peh? So Tosfos says, oh, Mizmoed Tilim is not so bad. But Tosfos says, but we say every morning the Shira. And like in the days of Tosfos, people didn't have like a shul and you had, 150 Siddurim on the show.
Yeah.
Most people didn't have a Siddur.
That was mixed.
Yeah. So Melech is Shas. Okay, well, that's not Dvarim Shebiksav. But Shiras Hayam, Oz Yashir, how could you say about Peh? So he says, no, because you're not being Moitzes Haram Yedei Chevasim. But other Rishonim disagree. So what do they hold? So you just read it from the Alter Rebbe.
Saying it like the derech too.
What the other Rishonim answer?
Saying the derech too.
No one answers that. It's interesting.
All the halukas are too.
No, it doesn't answer that. One is because you're not being moitzes Ram. Avu b'shamar chazal tam shosef b'shara shalom apem komakim kol davar sheshagur v'ragul b'fikoil k'goin eilu shamar namuter. V'lam lo yishagur b'fiyah ka'af b'shagur b'piv also. So some of the Rishonim say depends. If everyone knows it, like Krishma, Shiras Hayam, if everyone says it, then you're allowed to. The other, but let me finish reading. V'yeshem shatam aminagu shelo yosru loim madron shuksav apel kshein em k'dei lo yitzachim midei chavos aval kol echad em alatzim muter v'yesh li zor the Alter Rebbe paskins. And in the Psak Halacha, there's a lot of shittas. But what does the Alter Rebbe say? Yesh li zor kisvar rishonim. That you should only say Baal Peh Psukim that everyone knows, like Shema, Az Yoshir, Vayoisha, but any unusual pasuk you should only read inside. Kiyadu, when the Rebbe used to say Psukim, he was very careful not to say a whole pasuk, whatever.
You miss one word.
Yeah. Okay. Then, this is the Chiddush. Mutter likere Baal Peh l'divrei hakoil mishum eis lasses l'Hashem efeir Torah sech. That there was a special yotzim call for a summa. That a summa that Nebuch he can't see, what Chazal call a saginor, that a person that can't see, that he is allowed to. He is allowed to. Eis lasses l'Hashem.
I had a guy by the Syrian shul. He was blind, but any pasuk from the Tanakh, you ask him, he will continue.
Wow.
He knew the whole Tanakh by heart. It's unbelievable.
He was born that way, or
I don't know. I know that I went through time to a shiur, and people told me, she said, ask him question. He would answer right away.
wow, unbelievable.
And they told me that he knows everything by heart. I don't know how he learned. I don't know if he was blind before.
It's our brains are not developed anymore to remember things.
Huh?
Our brains are not developed anymore to remember.
Right. So
everything
these people,
today,
right,
The new generation doesn't remember.
right. So these people,
Maybe the chush, is
right.
better.
right,
Because it doesn't have one,
What you were
they
saying.
have other one.
right. The kids were asking this guy, and this guy lives in Yerushalayim, and he comes to Cholon every day to work. Wow. You know how much?
As a chazan,
And he lives himself. This guy is a
I
Suma.
don't know.
I'm telling you, we met with this, and he lives himself in an apartment, and he cooks for himself. He does his laundry, everything.
A summa can be a
Wow.
chazan. I have a reason why I'm asking.
Probably yeah. Yeah.
I was in Bet Torah about 30 years ago, and a blind guy, he's the head of the Liberian education in Yerushalayim. When you get to Yerushalayim, on the right side, they have a big building. Bet Chinuch Leivrim, it's called. I don't know how he got my number. He called me. He said he's coming with his wife. She had a cancer. He wanted to collect money. He wanted to stay by me. So he came. He stayed for 3 weeks. I took him to Bet Torah for Mincha. and he's a chazan. Beautiful voice. Yoram Shilo is name.
Wow.
Beautiful voice, but Sephardic. So I asked the Chaskel Zion, the chazan there, if he can be a chazan. He said, I have to ask the committee because he's blind. I said, he has all the book.
Yeah.
He has all the book. Rosh Hashanah.
No, he could have. I mean,
So he davened.
yeah.
So they asked me to ask him if he can come Sunday morning too. It was Shabbos. Such a beautiful voice. And any mangina, it's unbelievable.
No, this question you just asked me is this is what we're talking about. The Alter Rebbe says that everyone would agree for a summa that it's not a problem because Eis Lasses. Okay.
That he could read Balpeh.
But if it wasn't a summa,
No, but
how gets a machloikis?
But I read with his book.
He's not talking about it.
No,
You know how to pay.
Shaila is if he could read the bottom, is he mechuyev to say Mavesedre? And-
Why would it be fun?
Because you're not allowed to. Dvarim shebiksav yetera shalom rabapeh, and he can't say it al pi aksav. So the Alter Rebbe says no. That over here l'chul alma will be mutter, but according to Maram Maram Begoyim be mutter, which is not being moitzes Rabbe.
Only Sefer Torah is not allowed to do.
Only Sefer Torah, exactly. You can't be a shliach tzibur for
Can
Laini.
you get an aliyah? Because you have to read along.
Bizman hazeh for us. If you get an ali, it's a good question.
Most people
It's a
doesn't read
good
it.
question. Because he's
Halach is
it's
halach.
probably yeah. If we're saying ace, because the bracha, the he's saying the bracha in the old days where you would have to lane for everyone. So not. I mean, the question you're asking is really going to exactly what the Maram is saying. Let me read the whole Maram. Dvarim shebiksav yetera shalom rabapeh. Hanimi leloitze achenim. Teida. Deim avarchim b'chim zatoyre b'yochid. Chal yochel amram b'chutz. Probably yeah. Okay. Now let's go back.
Get the aliyah, but you can't read.
Right.
Read along with it. So
What's the words it said? Eis Lasses?
Eilas is Lashem. It's a special time. It's a special time to do for the Eibishter, so we have to make exceptions.
What, in that?
That's why Rebbe HaKadosh says we're going to write down the Torah.
Because otherwise people will feel it.
Otherwise, everyone's going to forget it.
I just want to add up for this Yoram Shiloh, after a few years, his wife passed away. And, he called me. I was in Israel. We met. He went to learn a law in Tel Aviv. Twice a week he traveled to Tel Aviv, Yerushalayim, and he passed, and now he has a firm. He moved to Eilat, and he has a law firm, Shiloh firm, and everything is blind.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Two things. One thing about the guy in Cholamot Pesach eating a matzah. The guy sitting next to him is blind. He hear the country. He said, "What is this?" He said, "You want a piece?" He said, "Why not?" He said, "Who bought it?" And another thing is, the flight, the pilot said in the middle of the flight that we have to go down for fuel. So we'll make it short. It's a small plane. So he went down, and the full seat. And everybody get off on the plane for half an hour, whatever. And then he said, "I'm going to announce to come back." The full seat was as a blind man. So the pilot says, "Why don't you go outside?" He said, "If you want, take my dog for a 15-minute walk. It's okay, I could see." So when we announced in the airport, everybody come back to the plane. Everybody said, "No, we don't want to fly with you." But they saw the pilot walk around with the dog.
That's what he was lying. That's a real, it's a joke.
I don't know. It's maybe a shit, I don't want to say.
So now let me wrap it up. So I think that the B'derech Efsher, we see the Gemara says that whatever is B'ksav, you're not allowed to say B'alpeh, whatever B'alpeh, you're not allowed to say B'ksav. And we see the Gemara compares that the two are like, whatever is B'ksav, you have to do B'ksav, whatever is B'alpeh, you have to do B'alpeh. So if you learn like the Rambam, that this whole klal is only when you're transmitting Torah to the Rabbim, Malamdim, I said B'Rabbim. It makes sense that also when it comes to Torah Shebiksav, the Malamdim, B'Rabbim, when it's Chumash, you have to do Biksav Davka. And when it's Halachas, it has to be B'alpeh Davka.
It's one Yeshiva is going to give a shiur. They have like a lot of book open.
Because today is the Chmuter, right? But Bisman that it was also. So when you were Malamid B'Rabbim, that's the whole emphasis that I'm emphasizing. When Malamdim B'Rabbim, it needed to be B'alpeh. So when you do something which is from Torah Shebeksav, you dafka must do it barab and beksav. But if it's biyochid, just like it's mutter to write, it's also mutter to read things that are beksav bapeh. But the other shitta, which is Rashi, so they hold no. It's a special exception. If things that are supposed to be bapeh always have to be bapeh. But if it's mamish something you might forget, you can write it and hide it. And same with Torah Shebeksav. If it's something you always have to do it beksav. But if it's an exception, something which everyone knows anyway, except a special exception. But the Rambam goes, that shit goes well with the Maram Rottenberg. I'm saying it's two sides of one coin. We're saying whatever is Biksav has to stay Biksav. Whatever is Balpeh has to always stay Balpeh. So,
going back to what you were saying before the printing press came about, you were saying sometimes when everybody recites it together, it's okay. So is that what they did during that point of time? Everybody recited the tefillah together?
yeah, and they used to say it by heart.
Yeah, because they didn't have enough Idurim and Chumashim.
Right.
It just sounded like one, right?
I think that's what the Sfardim took today.
That's Sfaradim read together.
They read together.
90% from the
The
tefillah.
davening is loud together. Like we sing our Shriya, it's very simple. The whole davening, the Sfardim is together.
It's beautiful, yeah.
They take turns.
Isn't the Siddhis talking about the Hevel of the Rebbe?
Huh?
Doesn't the Siddhis talking about the Hevel of the Rebbe when they're by a shir? There's a certain
So you're saying that's the Dvorim Shabal Peh.
yeah, well,
This is Dafke something.
Yeah, the
That's
Hevel.
Dvorim Shabal Peh. I have to look and see if
I
I
know
find it.
Nachman talks about it. I don't know if the
Uh-huh.
kind of talks. I don't know if kind of talks about the Hevel Piyam and Nachman.
Right. You're saying about the Rebbe. Well, as the Rebbe speaks, if there's something here. Okay, let's go weiter.
Big purpose is they should learn by heart a lot of stuff constantly. That when you walk
You
on
know,
the street,
because those days, by the way, Rav Steinman brings in his Ayelos HaShachar, and this is to do with something we spoke about by Shalosh Shudas, they says that the Reb Chaim Volozhin said that we say that Shachech Davar Echad Mishnah Sechai Benafshe. It's a terrible thing if a person forgets something which is from the Mishnah. So Reb Chaim Volozhin said a big chiddush that was in those days that you couldn't write anything. So if people are going to forget, the Torah was very makbid that you have to make sure never to forget. Abazman said that you can tell Google to remind you.
The smartphone, not the stupid.
Yeah. So nish gefährlich. If you're going to forget, Google is going to remind you. So nish gefährlich. But we spoke about Shalosh Shudas. We spoke another thing from the Alter Rebbe, Hilchos Talmud Torah, that you're never going to forget. Everything you learn always stays in your neshama. And maybe the shikha goes until the kisei HaKavod. But l'maylam kisei HaKavod, it stays in your neshama forever and ever.
So the telephone has the picture, and this is go to the cloud.
It's in the cloud. It does that. It's in the Rakia Shvi. It's in the Rakia Shvi. It sits in the cloud. Oh, it does it. Very good. Very good. It sits in the cloud. And even if your computer, there's a virus in the computer, even if there's a virus, it's the Maila.
It's in your neshama, not in your head.
Right. Even if it happens to many.
Right.
They forget, but it's in the cloud, but not stam in the cloud. But Rakia Shvi, l'mayla makisei HaKavod in the neshama, l'mayla it's backed up, and don't worry. Over there it's munach bekufsa, and don't worry about it. Okay.
The Rebbe says, there was no back. The code just keep going and going. It's just going. It doesn't stop.
One of the Tanaim or Emoraim was Segen Or.
Yes, sir.
Right. Exactly. Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef.
Yeah.
Zog the Gemorrah, Omar Ma. You see where we are? Two dots.
Avol
Yam ubika v'tztevonis v'karmelis. It's like 5-6 lines from the bottom.
What is Stevanius?
Oh, so Stevonius is these benches.
Convention just came.
Oh, very good, exactly. Yam ubika v'tztevonis v'karmelis. Ena lo krushu saram v'lo krushu sayochit. Yeah. So Gemorrah ubika ena lo krushu sayochit. Abika, which is a valley where there's fields, it's not a Yochid, not a Shusram, but now we're looking at Mishnah. Habika, in the valley, the fields and the valley. So b'moisei chama, people go on the roads because there's no puddles, so they don't bother to walk. They walk on the roads the way they're supposed to. So b'moisei chama is the rishus hayochid l'Shabbos. The fields are rishus hayochid l'gabi Shabbos. Rishus harabim l'tumah. Why is it rishus l'gabi l'tumah? Because when we say tumah rishus harabim rishus hayochid, we don't mean 600,000 or a lot of people. We said, let's read it right away in Rashi. 5-6 lines from the bottom. A valley, but we're talking that it's a valley that we mean the place where outside the city where all the fields are there. The suffix tumah tame mesoita gamrin Allah wasam stirik siv nistra vit met makom stirin to me about the suffix kind of don lasheritz. Chum made a rule. They said that whenever you have a suffix about tumah, all this fake is about tumah is all the rabbanon. It should be, but they decided that just like we see by Torah, when there's a woman there's a question if she's loyal to her husband. So what happened? That there was a shiloh if she was Talmi or Torah, but there was only 2 people in the room. Had there been 3 people in the room, there wouldn't have been a question. So Chachamim relied on that. Some chalzet to say that a place in a room, there's only 2 people in the room, and all of a sudden there's a question: did the sheretz touch Reuven? Did it touch Shimon? Did he touch the sheretz? Did he not touch the sheretz? Was it a sheretz? Was it not a sheretz? Whatever suffix there is in Tumah, if it's in a Rishus HaYachid, Tameh. If it's in a Rishus HaRabim, it's Tor. So it doesn't have to be 600,000 people. L'gabi Tumah, Rishus HaRabim there's a couple of people around. So we say that. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, the threshold's not that big. So the big.
Between 2 and 3 people?
Yeah, if definitely 2 people,
What?
Rishus HaYachid.
What?
2 people, Rishus
Right.
HaYachid. 3 people, Rishus HaRabim. So
One more.
one more, that's it, exactly. So they said that the Bika, because even though people walk on the roads, but you have, Reuven, Amal Shimon, Amal Levi, Amal Yehuda walk off on the side. I mean, there's no fences here, and some people stray off on the side. So therefore, it's a Rishus HaRabim Latuma. But when it's the winter, when the roads are full of puddles and people have no choice and they walk through the fields, it's a Rishus HaYachid Lakan or Lakan.
Because
I'm sorry. Shizrua, I'm sorry, forget. Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Meshik Zrua ve'en adam nichnas lo, just the opposite. It should say in the winter, it's they can't go in because things are growing, so they're only walking on the road. So therefore, it's the fields are said. Even if there was a suffix tumah in the field, we say that it's l'chumra. That it's a suffix l'tumah l'chumra. Okay, so bottom line is, what do we see from this Mishnah? That a bika could be considered a Rishus HaYachid l'Shabbos. Could be considered a Rishus HaYachid. The Braisa just said a bika is a carmelist, and here the Mishnah says a bika is a Rishus HaYachid. Zog the Gemorrah Amarula lo'olam carmelisi. That a bika is a carmelist. Well, my carmel is Rishus HaYachid, l'fishein Rishus HaRabim. It doesn't really mean a Rishus HaYachid. It means it's not a Rishus HaRabim. But when we're talking about Tumah V'Tara, there's no such a term as carmelist. You say Rishus HaYachid or Rishus HaRabim. So also l'gabi Shabbos, he called it a Rishus HaYachid. He meant not a Rishus HaRabim. A little bit of a funny text, but that's what he answers. Rabashi says, that there's 2 types of bika. One bika is a field that's opened. Sometimes you have fields like in Flatbush. The lawns are open, there's no gate. Most people. And some people have a gate around their lawn. So it depends. A bika that has no gates or a bika that has gates. Like Ula said, there's a large place. It's more than 2 saws. It's a measurement of how much you could plant in that field. More than 2 saws. and it was never the gate was never made as a gate for a dita for people to be there. If there was a house and then there's a farm and then there's a gate all around it, oh, so that's called hukaf l'dita. But if there's no house, it's just a farm, and there's a so that chachamim were choishish. Filu kura, filu karayim, azorik l'toich chayiv. My time mechitzi el shmuchu said is the yurim. So chacham said like this: look, it's a mechitza. It is a wall. So it's a rishus hayochid. But they said we don't want the people to carry there more than dal damas. Why? Because to the layman who doesn't know the halachas of mechitza and Shabbos, it looks like a big place. It doesn't look like a private. It doesn't look like a backyard. It doesn't look like a house. So therefore, they said that even though there's 4 walls, mamish 4 walls, and the walls are perfect, because there's loy hukav ladira and it's a huge space. So even though really it's a rishus hayochid, but you can't carry there more than dal damas. So when the Braisa was talking about a bika, the Braisa was talking about a regular bika. There's no walls. It's like a real it's a real carnivalist. Here, when we said the Tanan and the Mishnah bika, we're talking about that there's walls around it. Let's read in Rashi. To go on this lemachitza vashmin afagav the kefer yosem beisasayim. In the first Rashi in Dav Zayin. Vashmin afagav the kefer yosem beisasayim v'lukaf l'dirish ein beisasamach loy koydem hekef. His house wasn't there before he built the wall. Only until the l'toicha the carmelis. And if you're asking if you're allowed to carry more than 4 amas, no, we say it's like a carmelis. If it had been basis samuchla, like some farms with the derech is the basis samuchla, and then he made a fence around it, we would call that hukaf l'dira, even though there's also a farm. But there's a house near the farm. We built that, so we'd say, well, that's already considered hukaf l'dira. When there was not even a house near the farm, there was 0. All there is a farm, and he went and he built a wall. So he's saying that while Shasi built a wall, even if later he's going to come and that's not going to help, because Shasi built it, there was nothing but a farm. Have a carmelis, be carrying here. It's carmelis, you can't carry more than 4 amas. So really, it's a real rishus hayochid. Actually says when it's called rishus haram latuma, when you said there's doors, and as long as there's 3 people in the room, it's already not a rishus hayochid. So because these farms we're talking about that they were hukaf, and there's a fence, so therefore it's a rishus hayochid in one sense. On the other hand, it has a din of a carnivalist. Lagabi, you're not allowed to carry more than dal damas.
Why?
Why? Becham was scared that if people are going to carry in this place, they're going to start carrying in all public places. Because in their mind, this is a public place.
You said Rishus
right? So even though really it's a Rishus hayochid, and if a person threw over the fence, he threw something, he's chayiv, because he took from Rishus haram to Rishus hayochid. This is a Rishus hayochid. The Chacham say you have to treat it like a carnivalist. You're not allowed to carry more than dal damas in here. Mm-hmm. By the way, that's
if you're inside Rishus hayochid.
Yes, if you're in that Rishus hayochid, that means there's a big field, more than Beis Salayim, and there's a wall around it, and it's a real Rishus hayochid.
Right.
But it doesn't look like a Rishus hayochid. Some said you're not allowed to carry for more than dal damas because it looks like a
What makes it look like a carnival?
Because a lot of trees, there's no house here. The walls were built.
There's a fence around.
But people don't realize.
Even if there's a fence around.
Yeah, people don't realize. That's
No, but there's a fence on all 4 sides.
all 4 sides.
What, because it's a big area?
Because it's a big area, and there's no house here. There's not a barn. There's not a house.
How big of an area is core, by the way, to measure?
It's not so big. It's about it's about the Makam HaMishkan. Huh?
That's fine.
Yes, it's about the Makam HaMishkan. It's not that huge.
The whole Michigan.
It's a square block. Whatever, 2 square blocks in Brooklyn. It's not.
Michigan without the Azara.
Yeah, the whole Chatzar HaMishkan.
Yeah, the inside.
Yeah.
Even though it's part of that person's property,
Yeah.
if it's a large yard or a large
right,
field.
and there was no house there when he built the fence.
Yeah.
So Chacham was scared that the people are gonna.
Wow. So if somebody has a large backyard or
No, because that's with his house.
yeah,
But here we're talking about a farm.
yeah, okay.
So in those days, there were farmhouses on the farm, and then he made a fence. Oh, that's called Hukav Ladira. But if there's a very large farm and no house in it, and he made a fence around it, Chacham was scared. So they say, even though really it's a Reshus HaYachid, when a Torah Reshus HaYachid, you're going to throw something over the wall, you took from Reshus HaRam to Reshus HaYachid. You can't carry more than Dal Damas here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember I was born in Peekskill, and people used to have small farms up there. So in a place like
Right,
that,
a place like
people
that.
have to be
That,
careful.
right. I'll tell you more. Please, people have to be careful because when they build an Eidov in a city, so there could be big proportions, parcels of land that could be parks. You have to. This karfa Yosef Meshusam Shlokav Ladira goes into this the
So
parks.
they're making a small hut.
I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do. I'm not.
They
I'm just pointing out that this is one of the issues of what they. I'm talking about
How big of an area is Beis Yisrael, but
not very big. It's like the
but you
place
said
of the
bring it
Chutz.
in court,
Interesting.
right?
No, it's smaller. Karf of Yosef Beis Yisrael, Shogav Dira. Then he says, even if it's Afila Kur v'Korayim, which is 5 times Sosayim.
Oh, Line is 5 times Beis Yisrael.
5 or 10, yeah,
It says
it's much
here,
bigger.
Whatever it is, but
What,
it's
what's
much
that?
bigger.
A car is 30 saw.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, 30
That's
times
right.
as big. Okay, good, thank you. 30 times as big. Rabashi didn't say like Uluk. Rabashi wanted to say I don't know my time Kishmaite. Why didn't Ula just say, he himself said that there's a concept of Reshus HaYachid that has 4 walls and it's still we treat it like a karmelis. So why couldn't he explain the Braisa that way? Explain the Mishnah that way. There's why did the Mishnah call it Bika? It should have called it Karfef. So because it called it Bika, it couldn't be that the issue was that there was 4 walls. Alamai was Lahuka Fadira. And Rabashi disagrees. And Rabashi says, look, the Mishnah says it should say Yochid. I rather have that doichik to say that there's 2 names for this place. It could be sometimes it's called a karpev, and sometimes it's called a big deal. It doesn't bother me so much to say that there's 2 names for this place. Amol Chazal call it a bika. Sometimes Chazal call it a karpev. No big deal. Okay, let's stop at these 2 lines, at these 2 dots, and we just summarize what we just did on this last piece, which is we said that there is a bika. There is a bika. A bika is a carnivalist, and the Gemara said that there's a new type of carnivalist, which is this funny carnivalist, as I mentioned, that when you build today Eidov in the cities, that they have to deal with that. It's a Reshus HaYachid. Because it's a huge space, it's more than Beis Yisrael, even though it has 4 walls. Chacham said, I don't care. It's a real Reshus HaYachid, and if you throw over the wall, you just threw from Reshus HaRam to Reshus HaYachid. Chacham said we can't carry more than Dal Damas in this space. And this is called carnivalist.
Thank you.